obviously willing to share it now that I feel like I'm out of the woods, but I think it's hard to share when you're in the middle of it. You know what I mean? Like, we'll talk about it in the past historically, like, oh, this is what happened, this is how I got through it. But when you're in the actual brunt of it is when you need the help the most.
Let's fight failure together. We can defeat 90.
This journey you've gone through as an entrepreneur, it's definitely been something that's stretched you as far as, I feel like, more on the emotional side than anything else. From an intelligence perspective, like, you're crazy intelligent.
Thank you.
But it's been more of the risk taking, balancing it out with knowing the right moves to make.
Yeah. So I'd say, like, overall, the difference is, like, I have way more respect for just business and the market in general, but also, like, have more empathy for other business owners that when they're in a time of crisis, like, I go to the gym, I work out a lot, I hear a lot of different stories from, like, the people that I brush shoulders with and stuff. And, like, it sounds messed up, but I think beforehand, before I ever had experiences with, like, debt or sales being down or, like, a downward trajectory, I thought it could never be me, which is terrible. But it's almost like when you hear somebody, like, get in a crazy accident, or, you know, they pop their tire or whatever. Like, it's all these, like, different situations that don't sound like they would happen to you, or we think we're, like, the main character or something. And now it's like, I know it could happen to me because it did.
Yeah.
And if somebody else is in the same boat, then I don't think, like, oh, they must have messed up, or maybe they're not a good business owner. I just think there's a million factors that could have contributed to this. And most
100%.
likely I don't know the story.
Well, I think back to when, you know, you'd met me like 3 years after one of my companies didn't do really well, and we were
when you
saddled
told me your
my total debt that I had, and it was high. I mean, I think at that time I was like, I'll just leave it at that. It was high.
Yeah, it was probably still less than the Amex, right?
Yeah, no, it was more than the Amex.
Okay.
And you were like, how in the world? Like, you literally were like, like, and the thing is, none of that was like frivolous. That was like trying to bootstrap and grow the thing, and just made some missteps on how to do that business. And that's some stuff I'm going to talk through in a later episode. But the thing is like, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah. And
really, here's a stat for you. How much do you think the average debt load an entrepreneur has that's outside their house, outside of cars and all that?
50,000?
180.
Dang. Yeah.
That's the average debt load.
Wow.
That's circa small business, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So you think about that. Think like an average house, I think right now is like what? It's like $425 or something like that in the United States. It'd take 30 years to pay that off. That's half of a house.
Yeah.
That you're expected to pay off 5-10 years or go bankrupt.
Well, and a lot of people, I mean, you see your business as almost like your child. So it's like, you know, you do anything for your kid and stuff. And it's like, we've all seen families and stuff where they have like a troublesome teen or something, and they've spent a ton of resources trying to like get them back on their feet and stuff. And you never know. It's like, if one more trip or one more visit or, you know, one more outing is going to be the breakthrough, then I can't give up now, because then it's like all the stuff you've done up to this point
is meaningless,
is for nothing. So it's almost like, there's like this huge teeter-totter, and all of our efforts are on one side trying to tip the scale, but there's a curtain and we can't see what it's going to take.
Yeah. But I think that's why I'm so passionate about Defeat 90, is everything I've learned are normal pitfalls we all go through.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn it the hard way. For instance, the same one you went through, and I tried, we talked about, I tried to, you know, you only borrow money when you're on the upswing of things, right?
Yeah, you never try to catch the knife.
You never try to catch the knife. Because inevitably, you're not going to catch it based on the odds, right? And I think I see that more and more as I look back at the mistakes and things I made, and they were like, if we could talk about that, if you could have like run things past people, but we typically don't have anybody to run things past. You did, but it was that pride thing. So I think there's two sides of that coin, right? So there's that part of like, okay, I'm just being real with you guys. Some of you guys have community you can talk to. You have best friends and people you can talk to, but you don't because of pride. And then there's the other side of you people that don't have anybody. And we're trying to remedy that. But we're also trying to remedy having the conversations about this, because if we can get rid of our pride.
Yeah. Well, and like that's another thing is I'm obviously willing to share it now that I feel like I'm out of the woods, but I think it's hard to share it when you're in the middle of it. You know what I mean? Like we'll talk about it in the past historically, like, oh, this is what happened. This is how I got through it. But when you're in the actual brunt of it is when you need the help the most.
Why do you think that is? Because it doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. I mean, I had even mentors and friends that were willing to go through and say like they would do an audit and stuff. And I actually thought I'm going to get my business healthy and then I'll have them do the audit so my business looks good, which makes no sense. It's literally like somebody saying that they'll get baptized once they feel like, they're right with God. It's like you get baptized as the start. You know what I mean? We literally go through the transformation at the beginning, not once you feel like you don't need it.
Yeah. I think it's hard to admit we're weak.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about the people that are entrepreneurs, right? We're more type A, more driven, more risk adverse, very strong willed, self-starters. To be able to say, man, I effed up.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that takes a lot of humility. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong in this. I know for me now, 40, I'm trying to realize it's young. It's not old. It feels old sometimes, but as you were not. And there's such a humility that's happened in my life through everything I've gone through. And I wonder sometimes if it's that humility to be vulnerable, to admit, to ask help, to talk through things, to really take a closer look at where I failed and myself, my character flaws, the things.
Yeah.
Is why now I'm going to be the most successful I've ever been in my life. I've definitely had some opportunities that have been crazy, but my own hubris, I think, really stopped me from it. And I think maybe that's I think that's a key part of why when I talk about, because we're going to jump to that in a second about the character, I think sometimes it's our own, for me, it's been my self-discipline that's kept me back from being more successful. And I think we all have those character flaws. And I think pride definitely can be one of those things.
Let's fight failure together. We can defeat 90.